In the year 2000, 124 Cambodian children out of every 1,000 died before their 5th birthday. Everyone observed this as inevitable. This is just how it is. Nothing we can do. Too poor, too rural, too difficult. But a few people observed it differently. They didn't see inevitable death. They saw preventable tragedy. They didn't see impossible odds. They saw solvable problems. And that observation changed everything. By 2022, only 16 children per 1,000 died before age 5. That's a 75% reduction. Hundreds of thousands of children who shouldn't be alive according to the old observation are alive today because someone observed differently. This is the observer effect at the national health level. Let me show you how powerful observation is when it comes to saving lives. Year 2000, Cambodia, one of the poorest countries in Southeast Asia. The statistics were devastating. 124 children per 1,000 died before their 5th birthday. For mothers, this meant watching children die from preventable causes: diarrhea, pneumonia, complications during birth. For communities, this meant accepting child death as normal, as expected, as inevitable. The observation was clear. This is just how life is in Cambodia. We're too poor to fix this. We lack resources. We lack infrastructure. We lack trained professionals. And when you observe something as inevitable, you create inevitability. No urgency, no programs, no hope. The outcome becomes exactly what you observed. But in 2000, something shifted. The Cambodian government, with support from the World Health Organization and partners, made a different observation. They didn't observe inevitable death. They observed preventable problems with achievable solutions. They didn't observe poverty as a barrier. They observed poverty as context requiring smart, low-cost interventions. They didn't observe lack of infrastructure as permanent. They observed it as temporary and fixable. This observation shift collapsed completely different possibilities into reality. When you observe child mortality as inevitable, here's what happens. Minimal investment, minimal training, minimal infrastructure. Families accept loss. Communities normalize death. The pattern continues. When you observe child mortality as preventable, here's what happens. Strategic investment, focused training, targeted infrastructure. Families demand better care. Communities expect survival. The pattern breaks. Cambodia chose the second observation, and here's exactly what they did based on that observation. First, they invested in midwife training programs. The observation: most child deaths happen during or immediately after birth. Skilled birth attendants can prevent most of these deaths. Therefore, train more midwives. They created comprehensive midwifery training programs across the country, equipped health workers with essential skills, routine antenatal care, essential care during childbirth, postnatal care, management of complications. They deployed midwives to remote health centres, made sure even rural areas had skilled birth attendants. The result? In 2000, most births happened at home without skilled help. By 2022, 98.7% of births were attended by trained health professionals. 97.5% of women gave birth in a health facility. This single observation, this alone saved tens of thousands of children. Second, they created financial incentives for facility-based deliveries. The observation: poor families avoid hospitals because of cost. Remove the cost barrier, more mothers come to facilities, more children survive. In 2007, the government introduced a delivery incentive program for health teams. In 2019, they launched cash transfer programs for pregnant women and infants from poor families. They targeted the critical first 1,000 days of life, pregnancy through age 2, the period when children are most vulnerable. The result? Hospital births increased dramatically. Skilled care became accessible to poor families. Survival rates climbed. Third, they improved water, sanitation, and hygiene infrastructure. The observation: many child deaths come from preventable diseases caused by contaminated water and poor sanitation. Fix the infrastructure, prevent the diseases, save the children. They invested in clean water systems, sanitation facilities, health promotion campaigns teaching proper hygiene. The result? Fewer children dying from diarrhea, dysentery, and waterborne diseases. Fourth, they deployed community health workers. The observation: hospitals alone can't reach everyone. Community health workers can provide basic care, education, and early intervention in remote areas. They trained local health workers to make home visits, support families, ensure proper nutrition for children, vaccinate against deadly diseases, identify problems early. The result? Healthcare reached families who would never make it to a hospital. Prevention became possible in the most remote villages. And here's what happened. Between 2000 and 2022, the under 5 mortality rate dropped by 75%. From 124 deaths per 1,000 live births to 16 deaths per 1,000 live births. Let me put that in perspective. Only 4 countries in the entire world achieved a 75% reduction during this period: Cambodia, Malawi, Mongolia, and Rwanda. 4 countries out of nearly 200. Cambodia didn't just meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal for reducing child mortality, they achieved it 8 years ahead of schedule. The global average reduction during the same period, 14%. Cambodia exceeded the global average by more than 5 times. Neonatal mortality, deaths in the first 28 days of life, dropped 54% between 2014 and 2022, from 18 deaths per 1,000 live births to 8 per 1,000. Maternal mortality also declined, from 437 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2000 to 154 per 100,000 in 2022. Still too high, still work to do. But dramatic progress, hundreds of thousands of children alive today who would have died under the old observation. Hundreds of thousands of mothers who didn't lose their babies because someone observed differently. Now here's the critical part, the part that proves the observer effect. The children didn't change. Poor Cambodian families were still poor, rural villages were still rural, the country was still developing. What changed? The observation. When Cambodia was observed as too poor, too rural, too difficult to fix, child mortality stayed high. When Cambodia was observed as having solvable problems requiring smart interventions, child mortality dropped 75%. Same country, same challenges, different observation, completely different outcome. This is the observer effect at scale. What you observe determines what becomes possible, not because observation describes reality, because observation creates reality. Let me break down the observation layers in this story. Level 1. The fatalism observation. Year 2000 and before. Child death is inevitable in poor countries. This observation collapsed all possibilities to acceptance. Minimal action. Normalized tragedy. The observation created stagnation. Level 2. The prevention observation. Early 2000s. Most child deaths are preventable with known interventions. This observation opened new possibilities. Training programs. Infrastructure investment. The observation created momentum. Level 3. The achievement observation. Mid-2010s. We're ahead of targets. It's working. This observation reinforced success. More funding, more support, more confidence. The observation created acceleration. Level 4. The leadership observation. 2020s. We've become a model for other countries. This observation transformed identity. From aid recipient to knowledge sharer, the observation created authority. Each observation built on the previous one. Each observation collapsed different possibilities into reality. And here's what this means for you, for your life, for your possibilities. You're observing certain situations as inevitable right now. This is just how it is. Nothing I can do. Too difficult, too expensive, too late. And that observation is collapsing all possibilities to zero, just like the year 2000 observation about Cambodian child mortality. But what if you observe differently? What if the situation you think is inevitable is actually preventable? What if the problem you think is impossible is actually solvable with smart interventions? The Cambodian health workers didn't have better children, they didn't have more money than expected, they didn't get lucky, they had a better observation, and that observation saved hundreds of thousands of lives. In the year 2000, if you told someone that Cambodia would reduce child mortality by 75% and achieve the UN goal 8 years early, they would have said impossible. Too poor, too rural, too difficult, but it happened because someone observed it as possible. What are you observing as inevitable that might actually be preventable? What are you observing as impossible that might actually be solvable? The observation doesn't just describe your reality, the observation creates your reality. Change the observation, change the outcome. 124 children per 1,000 died in 2000. 16 per 1,000 died in 2022. The children didn't change, the observation did. And now hundreds of thousands of children who shouldn't be alive are living, playing, learning, growing up. All because someone observed differently. What will you observe differently today? If this video changed how you see what's possible, share it with someone who needs to shift their observation. Subscribe for more videos on the observer effect and how observation creates reality in measurable, documented ways. Comment below, what are you observing differently after watching this? Thanks for watching.